Coming up
because it's not
next.
healthy to hold all of that toxicity inside.
The struggle for us in finding somebody to talk to was all of the programs that are affordable are secular based.
Okay.
And they will push you to divorce.
Right.
And,
Right.
and to make everybody happy.
Wow.
The programming and the counselors that are Christian and biblically based were not affordable.
Not affordable. Wow.
So yeah, we can get help, but now we need to stop and plan and budget for help, and we didn't have that kind of time.
Yes. Wow. You know, you're really bringing some things to the forefront that we as the church need to identify if we're going to help God's people. You know, because it's unrealistic for us not to talk about money. You know, I can't give you my rent money, you know. And so for me to have to decide between the food, the lights, the whatever, and it's not that I don't love you enough to do that, but realistically, we can't.
Yeah.
So we recognize now that we need help. What do we do? I'm Mama E, and I have been sent to help you navigate through some of life's challenges. You know, years ago I had gone through some things in my marriage, and I found that there was a real need to just have somebody to talk to. That's the advantage of having a mom. And because I've experienced some things, my goal, my hope, is to reach back and pull my children's generation and my grandchildren's generation and say to them, come on, you can make it. If I can warn you about the pitfalls that are ahead, I can maybe help you get around them so that you don't have to go through the same hurt and the same pain. I'm looking forward to spending some time with you. I'm looking forward to you getting to know me, and that's the purpose of this telecast, Ask Mama E. Hey everybody, this is Estella Keys, also known as Mama E, and this is the Ask Mama E telecast. We have special guests, and I'm not going to talk quite as much today because there's so much that I feel can be beneficial to our audience if we allow our guests. Patric and Rebecca are going to share a bit of their story. Maybe what we should do, Rebecca, give us a little rewind to bring those people up to date who didn't catch the first show, and then you all take it from there. In case you didn't know, this is a show about having happy and healthy marriages and relationships. And what we desire to do is bring guests as well as for me to share some of the experiences that I've had that will hopefully be helpful to you as you go forth in your marriage or your relationship. So, Rebecca?
Okay, so we dated in high school, and we dated for about 3 years, and then we separated. He sacrificed our relationship so that I could have a better relationship with my parents because they weren't happy with the whole interracial thing. We spent 8 years apart, in which I had 3 children, and then we got together, and in the very first conversation we had after 8 years, he said he was going to marry me. And he did. And that was about 9 years ago. Yeah. So the first year was pretty good, and then after about 3 years, it got pretty toxic.
You shared with us before that, you know, some of the challenges had to do with your being raised differently. Patric came from an environment where people didn't yell and argue, and you were good with yelling and arguing. And then, of course, having 3 children that were not your biological children. And so navigating through all of that, and you said it really didn't get better initially. It progressed to the point that it was really physical. And here's the thing, I think that it's important that we interject. We're talking about 2 believers that believe in Jesus Christ, believe all that stuff the Bible says about what he's able to do, but he wasn't doing it in your house. And so did you reach a point where you were really ready to call it quits?
Yes, that was the day on the highway.
Okay.
She was just going on and on. It wouldn't stop. And when I saw myself literally getting ready to, like, in my mind,
Yeah.
to kill her to make it stop,
Yeah.
I knew I had to jump out. I had to get out. So I jumped out my car. I pulled over 4 lanes of over highway.
Wow.
I pulled over. Everybody's, honking and stuff like that. And I literally, the car was still kind of rolling. And I literally jumped out of the car and was like, "You, do what you got to do."
Right.
And I jumped out the car, and because I knew at that moment I was gonna
It
cross
was
a
too
line.
much, yeah.
And she went home. I think at that time, I don't know what she was thinking at that time, but in my mind, I was like, I knew that if we kept going down this path because of my temperament, like I'm usually very calm, but once you constantly push a button, then it's all or nothing for me. And and for her, it's just like it was like a normal day.
Hold on a minute. You said you didn't know what was going through her mind. Tell us, when you had to have known by his face that he was at that point.
That he got up and he got out of the car and he was just walking, and I was so scared.
Okay.
I was so scared that my pushing and prodding and saying things to intentionally hurt him and just being nasty to him.
So you
that I
saw
was
yourself
it.
that way?
Oh, absolutely.
Wow. So then,
I didn't know that.
I was about to say,
I didn't know
a
that,
lot
yeah.
of times we hide behind, I didn't know, and I didn't think it was that bad, or you made me do it. But you were you could see yourself being ugly to him?
At that moment,
Yeah.
I could see it.
You
At
recognized
that
it.
moment, I could see him snap
Right.
and be somebody
Yeah.
that I'd known
Yeah.
for years and had never thought that I would see.
Right. So what happened on the road to Damascus?
We were about 4.5 miles from the house.
Okay.
And so I went home, and it took him almost 6 hours to get home.
But he did come home.
He did.
Okay.
He did come home.
So now you realize that we've got a problem.
Yes.
Okay. And we were talking right on the last show about how as church people we hide what's going on. And for good reason, maybe, but we ought to be able to find somebody that we can talk to, because it's not healthy to hold all of that toxicity inside.
The struggle for us in finding somebody to talk to was all of the programs that are affordable are secular based.
Okay.
And they will push you to divorce.
Right.
Yeah.
And, and to make everybody happy.
Wow.
The programming and the counselors that are Christian and biblically based were not affordable.
Oh, not affordable.
Yeah.
Wow.
So, yeah, we can get help, but now we need to stop and plan and budget for help, and we didn't have that kind of time.
Yes. Yeah. Wow. You're really bringing some things to the forefront that we as the church need to identify if we're going to help God's people, because it's unrealistic for us not to talk about money. I can't give you my rent money, and so for me to have to decide between the food, the lights, the whatever, and it's not that I don't love you enough to do that, but realistically we can't.
Yeah.
So we recognize now that we need help. What do we do?
So it honestly still took us like another year to get help, because we talked about it, and then we both were kind of looking for somewhere to go. But it's just like she was talking about the price and everything, and like just and then you're also in a position of leadership. Like I was doing things in my church, and one of the leaders in the church. So it's like the only person I really had to go to was my parents, was my dad and my mom.
Okay.
And sometimes, they know your stuff, but it was like, I kind of started to feel like it started to put her in a defensive position with my family.
Yeah.
Because I'm talking to my mom and my dad. She has nobody to talk to.
Right.
And I start to see that was causing a conflict too.
Because they're going to have an opinion about her, And
my parents try to stay neutral.
Yeah.
But it's still my parents.
Right.
Versus her. And so maybe about a year later, we moved to our new house, and we were just arguing about. I mean, it'd be lint on my pants, and I'd be
Yeah.
like, "Man, this lint's crazy." But we'll argue about the lint on the
Yeah.
pants, and be about to kill each other over it.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So it got to a point like right before Christmas when I was truly, honestly done, because I was like, I'd rather be friends and be to the point where I don't completely hate her, because I felt like I hated her at this moment,
Yeah.
and I didn't want to constantly feel that towards her, because I still loved her.
Yeah.
But we just couldn't be
Wow.
together with
Yeah.
everything going on, and the main reason I was even staying for that year was because of the kids. I've been there with
Yeah.
them for 8 years.
Yeah.
I can't just abandon them. That's not who I am.
Yeah.
And so I talked to her. I was like, "Look, babe, if I have to leave if we don't do something
Yeah.
about this. There's no way that we can continue down this road to the point where I feel like I hate you, and
Yeah.
I know that if I'm at a point where I do not see you as somebody I love, I can easily kill you. That's just my
Wow.
temperament."
Yeah.
And so that's where we're literally at.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
so.
And this is so vitally important. I appreciate the fact that you have been willing to be open with us, because to be able to even talk about that dichotomy, I love her, but I hate her. I want to be here. I don't want to be mean and ugly, but I am. Why am I acting like this? And so many times we think, or we see things on the news and we say, "Oh, how in the world could that happen? I could never do that." But there's a place that we can get to.
Yeah.
Where if we have not identified it and gotten the help we need, I am convinced that not everybody that got into trouble meant to.
Yeah.
It was that spur of the moment thing that happened. And you look back, and even though we love each other, we have hurt each other to the point that we just don't think we can go on.
Yeah.
Okay, take another few minutes.
So Patric found the Live the Life program.
Yes.
With Miko.
Yes.
And he's like, "This is it." He's like, it's in 2 weeks. Sign us up. We're going or we're done.
Uh-huh.
And so it was the first thing we'd seen that was affordable.
Yeah.
And so we did. He called me and he told me, and I was driving, and I pulled over on the side of the road and I signed up for it when we
Wow.
were done. So we went through the class. It was just 2 days. It taught us a lot about
Just 2 days changed our life. Yeah.
how we look at each other, how we think about each other, how we communicate.
I'm actually sitting here with chills because of the hundreds and perhaps thousands of people out there who have been saying, "Where is the help? God, help us." And I am believing that this was ordained, that even the fact that we didn't even plan to go this path. But I am believing that there are people that God has said, just turn on the TV now. When we come back from our break, we're going to talk a little bit about what those 2 days did.
Okay.
I really am almost beyond words, because I know that I was in a place at one time like this. And in my case, my husband wasn't willing to get help. He didn't even think we needed help, or he thought that that there was nobody to go to. And so many of you are perhaps in that state right now, where you're at your wits' end and you don't really want divorce, but you don't want to keep living like this. I want you to just go get your soda, go get some water, get prepared for life-changing help. When we come back from our break, Patric and Rebecca are going to share with you what God did in their lives. And we're praying that that same God is going to do it for you. We'll be right back.
Mama E is on the web at www.ask-mama-e.org. Hopefully you're enjoying Ask Mama E Show. If you would like more relationship tips or to get more information on programming information for this particular show, maybe you need tips on a better relationship or information about guests that appears on this show, please go to our website at www.ask-mama-e.org. Remember, Mama E is listener support. You can support this broadcast by going to Cash App, Sakis, and giving a donation today.
Okay, so you got your glass of water, you got your peanut butter and jelly sandwich. I want you to get ready and prepare for the testimony of what God has done in the marriage of the Myers. So take it. In fact, I don't even want to keep talking. Tell us what you found, what happened in that weekend with Live the Life.
For me, God had already been dealing with my heart as far as the way I thought. Because during that time I was really getting on my knees before God, and like I'm constantly blaming her
Yeah.
for everything that was going on, and the way she was being. Like, what kind of man was I being? And the Lord was just like smacking me with that in the face, like on a regular basis.
Wow.
Every time I was getting on my knees, it's like, you're not a good husband, you're not a good father, you're not this, you're not a good man, you're not, and you're over here judging her. And so it really prepared my heart when I went there to live the life. Is something I challenge, especially our men, because this is what I saw when we went there. A lot of the men were not willing to really take a big look at themselves.
Wow.
And we're more like, like, you have to be in the mindset of, what am I here for? How is God going to change me and my heart and my life? And that's when I looked at it like that, and I really wasn't concerned about what she was getting. That's what transformed my thinking towards her, because this whole time in our marriage, I was thinking that she's trying to be my mother, she's trying to be my sister, and everything else, my father, all in one. And she's my enemy. But the thing is, we honestly had each other's best interests at heart. We just didn't know how to talk to each other. So all this conflict that we were having had nothing to do with half the stuff that we were fighting about in the first place. It was just that we didn't have enough respect to see each other in the light that, this person loves me, has my best interests. Maybe I should, for a second, put my pride to the side, sit back, shut up, and listen to what the person is actually saying. And that was what really started to change the dynamic in our marriage after that class, and the tools that they gave us, how to talk to each other, how to have correct conflict resolution. Because a lot of times in a marriage, you're not really resolving things. You're just
Yeah.
learning how to talk to each other so you can actually have a better picture to handle whatever situation that you're in, because sometimes there's just not a solution to a problem.
Yeah.
You
Yeah.
know?
And see, but you hit on the respect factor. When you think about, I had talked earlier about changing our behavior. We don't talk to the neighbor like we talk to each other.
Yeah.
When we're being disrespectful, and maybe we don't recognize it as disrespect, but when I consciously put you down and I want you to feel hurt, that's not respect, But for God to soften your heart to the degree that you said, I'm going to this to get help for me. So what was he doing in your heart when you went to the weekend event?
I think that for me, I know that I have some issues. I wasn't taught to deal with conflict. I wasn't taught to deal with affection. I wasn't taught how to deal with marriage
Yes.
correctly.
Yes.
So for me, it was I had acknowledged that I had some issues that I needed to deal with, and that I was causing conflict in our marriage,
Okay.
and that was heartbreaking.
Okay.
Because here I was trying to be the better half, and be his helpmate,
Yeah.
and be everything for him, so that he can be what God's
But
called
you were
him to
part
be.
of the problem.
And I was a very big part of the problem.
But just for you all to be at a place where you can even say that, many of us let our pride stop us from getting to a place where God can meet us, And as long as we are convinced that the problem's on the other side of the bed, and so that we'll never resolve it. We keep going
Yep.
around that same merry-go-round like the children of Israel. And since and God's saying, but I've got help for you, but this is where I need you to be. And when we can be humble enough to say, God, work on me,
Well, we went through the class, and we could see a lot of other couples they were just sitting in class. They were already arguing in class.
Yeah.
And even the exercises they gave us, the tools they taught us, they were using them, and they were just still arguing.
Yeah.
So it's like they didn't have, and I don't know what their situations are, but it's like they weren't ready. And we had decided before that class that we were ready.
Yeah.
That we were each ready. We were trying to each fix ourselves, and that, you know, we were ready to work together and to fix the marriage together.
Right. Well, and see, and I think that's key as well. Not only did you decide you had a problem, but you had made the decision, today is the day we change.
Yeah.
You know, and until we get to that place, you know, until I heard someone say that change only occurs when the bad is so bad or the good is so good. And as long as we can tolerate it, we'll stay. But when it gets to that place that you all reached, that you just could not, you knew that there was nothing more that you could do in yourselves. So at that point, you reach out for help. My husband and I went to a Weekend to Remember, which is another one. And we were probably the oldest couple there. We went as we were preparing to remarry, you know, and we both recognized that there were so many things that we didn't know. We've been married 30 years, you know, but we had never gone to any marriage conferences. And maybe the problem was we thought we knew. You know, both of us came from two-parent households, and, you know, he thought his job was to work and pay the mortgage, and I thought my job was to bake cookies. And so when trouble hit, we didn't have any resources. We didn't know what to do to fix it, you know. So that I always applaud couples who will say, I don't have what it takes to make this better, but I'll find it. So then for you all to find something that was at least affordable enough for you to do. So you come back from the weekend retreat, and then what, did you notice changes in each other after that?
I was still very, in my nature, I guess, like, once you hurt me to that point, like, I don't trust you.
Yeah.
And so that was like the major thing, because
guarded.
I was like really wondering if for her, she was going to keep doing the same thing. But then, you know, that didn't fix everything in our marriage, because we actually, like, maybe we did good for about six to 8 months. And then we had one final really big blow up. And after that, we just really sat down and we were just like, look, it's either like this: either we stay married and we never speak to each other like this again, and our marriage actually hinges on this fact that if we ever fight like this again, we walk away.
Right.
So either we love each other and we will not ever do this again,
Yes.
or we just need to go ahead and be just done with it right now.
Right.
And when we put that in our mentality, that our marriage literally survived or failed on the fact that we would never treat each other in that way again, that completely changed everything in our marriage.
The way that he said it to me was that nothing in this world is more important to him than the fact that he was able to marry me. And so that nothing that we have ever fought about or could ever fight about is as important as us being able to stay married.
Yeah.
And to me, it was like because he's good like that.
Okay.
I don't even remember saying that.
See,
So
but it worked.
But to me,
And
I knew that.
yeah.
I knew nothing that we argued about was
worth that.
Was worth it.
Yeah.
But him saying it
Yeah.
was like a switch.
Yeah. And
it changed
so many
everything.
times I think we're not even necessarily conscious of what happened, but God used what he said to minister to her, you know, so that you didn't practice it. It wasn't something you thought 3 days before, I'm going to say it like this. God knew what she needed to hear. And when we reach a point that we can decide that our marriage, our husband, our wife is important enough beyond anything else, that I really want the best for you, and if I can't contribute to your receiving God's best, then I'm the problem, and I need to remove myself. And I often say, as two believers, if one of the children came home or found out they had leukemia, you would fight the devil tooth and nail for that child. What it says then is we have to decide what's important in this house. And when we decide that nothing, the lint on the pants, I don't feel like, my husband used to like fried chicken, and I didn't like fried chicken because it's too hard. I have to stand there and watch it. When I look back at some of the arguments, really, honestly, we are not going to ever fight about fried chicken. We're not going to ever again fight. I even said that if they're not going to put it in the obituary at my funeral, we're not talking about it. And most of the things that we allow the enemy to do to us is not worth it. Yeah. If we can imagine Satan laughing when he's torn up another home, when we became another statistic, and the only one who was happy at the end of that was our enemy, the enemy, So it looks like it's about time for us to end. I am so encouraged by your story. And I'd like to say to our audience, I know that you have been blessed by the ministry. And, we think ministry is standing behind the pulpit. But whenever we can reach out and help someone, that's ministry. So Rebecca and Patric's ministry has been a blessing to me, and I'm sure to many of you. As the show goes off, you'll be able to get information about how you can reach us. Ask Mama E from In Him Marriage and Family Ministries. We're here in Jacksonville, but our desire is to give you everything that God wants you to have. So be prayerful. I look forward to seeing you again next time. So we've come to the end of another telecast. My hope and my prayer is that something was said today that will give you encouragement. I know you were thinking that nobody understood. Certainly, I don't even know you. And you're thinking, how did she know? Well, it's because I've experienced much of what you're going through. Won't you plan to join me every week at the same time as we work our way through some of those issues that have really been giving you trouble? Believe me, you're going to be okay. Just believe. I make a promise to you that it's going to be okay. Just ask Mama E.
This broadcast has been provided to you by In Him Marriage and Family Ministry. Remember, this broadcast is listener supported. Your financial assistance would be greatly appreciated. You can give immediately by Cash App Sakis, or you can feel free to go to our website at www.ask-mama-e.org. You may reach us by telephone at 904-402-0086. You may write us or mail gifts of support to Ask Mama E. In Him Marriage and Family Ministry, Inc., P.O. Box 43255, Jacksonville, Florida 32203.